Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to our daily quiz for today. But before we begin with the questions, an important reminder. I hope all of you by now have joined the Telegram channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. If you have not done so till now, use the link given in the description of the video and join the channel. There are a lot of new initiatives coming up specifically on that channel, including our series of political thinkers and ideas. As you know, every single day at 7 p.m. we are releasing a new video exclusively on our Telegram channel. Today's video will be on Mahatma Gandhi and his political ideology. Don't forget to miss this because this series of political thinkers is extremely important for multiple optional examinations as well as the GS4 paper. Now let's begin with question number 1. Consider the following statements with regards to La Nina. Number 1. In the Indian context, La Nina is associated with good rainfall during the monsoon season. Second, in Australia and Indonesia and generally in the tropical region, La Nina is expected to bring more rainfall. Third, La Nina's cooling influence is temporarily slowing the rise in global temperatures, but it will not halt or reverse the long-term warming trend. Which of these given statements is or are correct specifically with respect to La Nina? The correct answer here would be D. All the three given statements with respect to La Nina are absolutely correct. As you know, most parts of India, including the states such as Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc., have been seeing increased rainfall as compared to the normal trend. The same flooding has also been seen in parts of Pakistan, and as per the scientists, La Nina's effect has contributed to this increased flooding and increased rainfall in the monsoon season. First and the second statements are correct. The third statement is also correct because this increased rainfall has brought in a cooling influence, but it will not impact the long-term rise in the Earth's temperature increasing day by day. As the author says, La Nina is a phase in which the sea surface temperature are cooler as compared to normal. If La Nina continues for more months in 2023 also, it will be good news for India because it will bring more rainfall to the areas where we actually need rainfall because of the irrigation requirement in the agricultural fields. The author here says that the ongoing La Nina phase of equatorial Pacific Ocean has been predicted to last for at least 6 months, which is one of the longest ever phases of La Nina in our recorded history. It is only third time since 1950 that La Nina has actually stretched into the third year. This is also being called as a triple dip La Nina. This current phase of La Nina was actually started in September 2020 and now it is just about to enter its third year also. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with respect to the Indian tribals. Number 1. The final decision to include a tribe in the scheduled tribe list rests with the President's office issuing a notification specifying the changes under the powers vested in it from Article 341. Second, the inclusion or exclusion of any community in the scheduled tribe list comes into effect only after the President assents to a bill that amends the Constitution's Scheduled Tribes Order 1950 after it has been passed by both houses of the Parliament. Third, a state government may choose to recommend certain communities for addition or subtraction from the list of scheduled tribes based on its discretion. Which of these given codes is or are correct? Now, if you look at these three statements, these are slightly confusing in the sense that the first statement is actually wrong because Article 342 is what makes mention of the scheduled tribes being included in the list from the President's office. Article 341 actually talks about the same procedure for scheduled caste. So for scheduled caste, it is Article 341, while for scheduled tribes, the same procedure is given in Article 342. So the first statement is wrong. Second and the third statements are actually correct. The state governments can also recommend certain communities to be included or excluded from this list, while the President has to give assent to the bill that amends the Constitution's Scheduled Tribe Order 1950 in order for it to be finalized. So the correct answer here would be B. Two statements are correct out of the given three. The reason why we are discussing this question is because the Kurmi community has been agitating, demanding their inclusion in the scheduled tribe list because they also want the benefits that are given to the scheduled tribes. Not just this, they also are demanding inclusion of their language, that is Kurmali language, in the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution. One of the reasons why the Kurmis are actually protesting right now is because 6 communities in Assam have also threatened to launch this agitation because they also want their inclusion in the scheduled tribe list. This agitation comes just after a week that cabinet had approved inclusion of many communities in scheduled tribes in Chhattisgarh, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh and UP as well. This is why the Kurmi community is agitating because they have been demanding that they also deserve to be a part of this list. As of now, in Odisha, West Bengal, and Jharkhand, the Kurmi community is classified under the other backward classes group, that is the OBC community, but they want to be included in the ST community specifically. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements with regards to lumpy skin disease. Number 1. There are no specific antiviral drugs available for the treatment of the lumpy skin disease. Second, the lumpy skin disease is primarily spread between animals by biting insects such as mosquitoes and biting flies. Third, the disease is zoonotic, meaning it can spread from animals to humans as well. Which of these given statements is or are correct with regards to lumpy skin disease? The correct answer here is A. 1 and 2 are correct. The third statement is wrong. It is not a zoonotic disease, meaning that it does not spread from animals to the human, so human beings are immune to it. First and the second statements are correct. As you know, in the past few weeks, a lot of articles have been written about the lumpy skin disease, which is affecting water buffaloes and other buffalo species. The problem is that there is no one specific drug or medicine associated with curing of this disease. It does have certain vaccination, but still, a lot of cases have been found amongst the buffaloes of this disease in the past few months. Because of this, the Mumbai police have recently ordered prohibition of cattle transportation in the city to avoid the spread of this particular disease. This means that the cattle cannot be moved out of the place that they are being raised or transported to any of the marketplaces. This disease right now is spreading in multiple parts of the country, including Mumbai, Rajasthan, etc. Next, question number 4. Consider the following statements with regards to the Enforcement Directorate. Number 1. The Prevention of Money Laundering Act allows the ED, that is Enforcement Directorate, to take cognizance of any offence under its wide-ranging schedule across the country with the consent of the state governments. Second, following the amendments in 2015 and 2018 in the PMLA, here PMLA stands for Prevention of Money Laundering Act, the ED was allowed to attach properties in India equivalent to the properties acquired abroad through laundered money. Third, under PMLA, the provision for bail stipulates that the magistrate will not grant a bail to an accused unless he is convinced that prima facie no case is made out. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here would be B. The first statement is wrong because this is entirely why the state governments are against ED. The ED does not require the consent of the state government. So even without or with the consent of the state governments, the ED can undertake any matter that they want. Second and the third statements are correct. The third statement, in fact, was in the news recently when the Supreme Court gave very tough direction about ED, favoring the increased powers that ED has been given under the PMLA. That is, the bail will only be given if the magistrate is convinced that there is no case prima facie. Prima facie means at the first look, at the first instant. This is an article about ED in today's newspaper. It is filled with a lot of details about ED. It says that in 8 years from 2014, the ED has investigated 121 well-known politicians, and out of those, 115, over 90%, have been major opposition leaders. In comparison, in the 10 years of the Congress government from 2004 to 14, only 26 leaders were investigated, including 14 from the opposition. The article also talks about how the PMLA has given a lot of powers to the ED and how even the Supreme Court has favored recently these powers to be given. Next is a previous year question from 2019. As per the solid waste management rules of 2016 in India, which one of the following statements is correct? Number 1. The waste generator has to segregate the waste into 5 categories. Second, rules are applicable to notified urban local bodies, notified towns, and all industrial townships only. Third, the rules provide for exact and elaborate criteria for identification of sites for landfills and waste processing facilities. And fourth, it is mandatory on the part of waste generator that the waste generated in one district cannot be moved to another district. Which of these given statements is correct? The correct answer here is C. Out of the 4 given statements, only the third one is correct. First is wrong because the waste has to be segregated into 3 categories and not 5 categories. So there are biodegradables, dry and domestic hazardous waste before they are handed over to the collector. This is called segregation at source. The new rules are also applicable beyond municipal areas as well, including notified industrial townships, railways, airports, SEZs, etc. Also, landfills can be set up outside the district, so it's not compulsory that the waste of one district will have to remain within that district only. That is why all the other statements were wrong. Next is a fact of the day, and today we'll be discussing about the concept of eSIMs. The reason why this is in the news is because the new iPhones in the United States will be using eSIMs exclusively. This is a new version of technology, and the idea is to replace the physical version of the SIM card that you use in your mobile phones. In India and the other markets, iPhone will still use the physical SIM cards that we actually have, but starting from the US, they will be replacing that with eSIM. Now, eSIM here stands for Embedded SIM Technology. It is not a new technology, it has been around for many years, but now it is coming to the mainstream. Now, this is the same SIM card that you have. The only difference is right now in your phone, for example, you can replace the SIM card, you can then put some other SIM card as well. But eSIM would be embedded, means it will be permanently embedded in the gadget that is your mobile phone's motherboard, so you cannot replace that. Simple. Just like a traditional SIM card, it will also have components that will become a part of your phone. Now, this doesn't mean that you cannot change your number, or this doesn't mean that you cannot change your operator. It can happen, but it will then be reprogrammed so that they can switch to any other operator. The eSIM cards were first established in 2012, but they have not been made a part of retail mainstream market. There are still a lot of advantages and disadvantages regarding eSIMs. The first advantage is the convenience. You can easily switch to some other operator also with just a few program codes. It also makes the phone much more secure, so you don't really have to worry about losing your physical SIM card if you're keeping it out. If you're using multiple SIM cards, keeping one in your wallet, there is no chance that you will now lose it because it is a part of your mobile phone itself. There are some disadvantages as well. For example, if your phone runs out of battery right now, you can just remove the SIM card, put it in some other phone. But with eSIMs, that will not be possible. Also, eSIMs is still new technology for a lot of people across the world. That is why if something goes wrong, you might not find people who are able to fix that. Also, in India, expensive devices such as iPhones, the Google Pixel series, etc., are the ones that are thinking of this idea, while the more affordable smartphones are still not thinking of that idea. That is why this is still a new technology, and we have to see how exactly is it embraced by the people across the world. This is it for today's daily quiz video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day ahead.